Hi, everybody. My name is Pam Van Hook, and I have been with Bailey for about 4 years. Some of you, I think I know. Some I may have not spoken with, but I have worked in the ERP space for over 30 years. I work closely with all of our customers to help them evaluate ERP solutions or enhancements to their current solution, if that makes sense. And I've managed hundreds of customers across many industries. Primary experience in Sage 100. Been working for the last 2 years with NetSuite. I've also helped with Dynamics GP and Dynamics 365 Business Central. I won't read off all of my accomplishments, but I've been working in the industry for a lot of years, and I work really closely with Amy. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy.
Thank you, Pam. My name's Amy Canust, and I have a similar background to Pam. I have been working with ERP systems for about 25 years. My bio is a little outdated here. I'm also a CPA. I spent about 10 years in public accounting, and like Pam, I have some diversity of experience across various ERP platforms, including Sage 100, Sage 500, Sage ERP X3, some of the Dynamics product lines, and several cloud solutions, including Acumatica, and most recently NetSuite. I have about 10 years of experience with NetSuite. And so my role today is to help kind of take you on a journey where we're going to explore the value of modern ERP solutions. And at the close of this presentation, we'll have some opportunity to do some Q&A if we have some additional time. So I'll just move right now into the learning objectives and the agenda for this presentation. What we like to do is kind of talk about how you might know that it's the right time to switch business systems. What are the key indicators that would tell you that maybe you should be thinking about this and planning for it for your businesses? And then how do you understand the primary differences between what we would consider modern ERP applications and some legacy platforms? In this case, like a Sage 100 application, which both Pam and I have been working with for 20 plus years. And how do you identify the benefits of a modern ERP? What differentiates it, and why is it beneficial to businesses? And then learning about a little bit about some future trends and how some modern ERP applications are applying those future trends, the things that you'd be able to take advantage of. And then understanding the keys to identifying and evaluating ERP applications, because there are a number of choices out there in the marketplace. And so there are some guidelines and criteria that you can follow as you are navigating your business through the evaluation process. So that's the goal today. So we're going to talk first about kind of how do we know it's the right time to switch business systems. And I've got a little diagram here. I think Gartner has a study out that says the average SMB company, a small to mid-sized business, has over 56 applications in their environment they're using to manage their business. And that could span everything from email systems to security platforms to operating systems to ERP, CRM, HCM. And we'll clarify some of those acronyms as we go through this. But ultimately, it's complex. There are a lot of moving parts, and particularly when you're dealing with legacy applications where it is somewhat difficult to integrate those solutions and they're built specifically for a single purpose, it just adds to the complexity of the environment. So we're going to talk a bit about modern ERP and how it's kind of re-envisioned the business management application process. So first of all, in terms of leading indicators, if you are experiencing any of these things in your business, it's probably time to start planning. Or even if you're experiencing several of these, because it might not just be one of these criteria. Oftentimes when we are talking to someone who's looking at replacing a system, their issue is growth. And they might be experiencing explosive growth in their business. They're expanding to other geographies. They're adding additional product lines. They're changing the nature of their business. And the existing ERP system is constricting that growth. It's forcing them to add people in order to support higher volumes. And so they're looking for efficiency, essentially being able to grow without adding a lot of people. So that is one leading indicator. Lack of innovation is another. So if you are spending a lot of your time just supporting the application as opposed to really focusing on the strategic objectives of your business, and if it's hampering your ability to adapt, right, to the business climate and the kinds of things that you'd like to be doing as an organization, then it might be time to consider a new system, because modern ERP is going to give you much more flexibility. Market changes. this is driven by the environment, by the pace of change of technology. What you find is no software system lasts forever. I think in particular, Sage 100 has had a very long life, right? It has been around for 20 plus years. Actually, the name originated as Mass 90. So here's a little bit of trivia for you. It was developed in the 80s, and the developer felt that by calling it Mass 90 and referring to the 90s, he was going to make it very forward thinking. And if you think about it, it's still around today. And so it's been a good solid system for people for a long time, but Pam and I have supported it for over 20 years. But ultimately, publishers recognize that there is too much investment to be made in some of these legacy systems to be able to equip them with current technology and to enable them for current platforms. And ultimately, what these publishers decide to do is to sunset those applications in favor of new applications they've either built or purchased. And so what you'll see when that is happening in your environment is you'll see a lot of decreased investment in the solution, right? Fewer developers associated with it or working on it at the publisher level. You'll see fewer changes, fewer interim releases. You'll see them start decreasing the level of their support departments and moving those folks to other areas of the business. And it'll be clear to you that there's not as much investment in your platform. And there are many applications that are in that situation today. Sage 100 is one of them. So it's right now kind of going through that process with Sage. Another thing you might have challenges with, and we do hear this from a lot of folks that are looking for applications, is visibility. We put a lot of information into the applications, but it's very difficult to get meaningful, actionable intelligence out of it. And so if anyone's tried to create a crystal report, I'm sure that's been a little bit challenging for some of you. It's a little bit of a technical solution. And so Sage is trying to add some things to the equation, like Sage Intelligence and Business Insights, to kind of assist folks with that. But what you'll find in modern ERP applications is essentially built-in business intelligence, real-time analytics. And we're going to have an opportunity to view some of that later today. You may see performance and integrity issues. This isn't as prevalent anymore with Sage 100, but if any of you have been using it for a long time, you might remember the infamous error 47 that we used to get all the time and we don't get as much anymore. That was related to just database structure and the flat file organization or infrastructure of that solution. You'll see this a lot in QuickBooks as well for folks that are on entry-level systems, but typically either the architecture and design or the database itself is not designed to handle the volume. And you will end up with data issues that cause performance and integrity problems, and that can be a sign of a need to perhaps replace your environment. And then finally, we do see a lot of people coming to us with changing business requirements, and that could mean I was a manufacturer and now I've really branched into the need to charge for maintenance or monitoring of the devices that I sell, and that puts me in a subscription model, and now I'm subject to things like ASC 606, and my solution is not capable of supporting it. So if your business is changing and evolving and you're expanding into new lines of business, oftentimes you'll find challenges getting legacy systems to support that. So those are some of the things to be thinking about as you are considering your environment and what the right step is for your business. Now, if we kind of take those key indicators and we start thinking about how do legacy systems, what are some of the criteria or some of the characteristics of legacy systems, and how does that relate to or compare to maybe a modern ERP application? One of the things I think about is version lock and the concept of kind of endless upgrades and upgrades that are expensive and time consuming and painful for the business. And that's typically what you'll see in any legacy system, not just a Sage application, but you're going to have to be responsible for your own upgrades. And oftentimes you defer those updates because they're painful, they put the business down, they're risky, and they cost money. Now, in modern ERP, regardless of platform, they kind of consider this to be versionless, and that you're outsourcing the management of that application as a managed service. Just like if you would take your payroll environment and outsource it to a payroll provider, you no longer have to worry about the details of making sure that that application is up to date. You're going to get upgrades typically biannually, delivered directly from the publisher, and your downtime might not exceed 20 minutes to receive one of these upgrades. And they're very, very low risk upgrades because of the way they do layered customization. The other issue that we see is kind of fixed processes, where these applications historically were designed for a very specific purpose, and there are sometimes limited methods that you can use to support a particular business process. Whereas in modern ERP, what you'll find is it is more of a codeless customization environment, where they put the power in the hands of the user to personalize not only their experience, but also their business process. And they make that very easy to do. So it's really kind of a different approach to delivering an application. Legacy systems can also be closed environments. So think of read-only databases or things that are difficult to integrate with standard REST or SOAP API platform applications. Whereas modern ERP is enabled for integration. It's really designed to be open so that you can combine it with other information or systems to be able to better run your business. We talked a bit about reporting utilities. A lot of legacy applications are using legacy reporting tools, and sometimes tools that are very difficult and complex to use. Whereas modern ERP has both built-in analytics and tools inside the application that make it very easy for an end user to design their own reports or queries in the application. Legacy products are also kind of very point solution focused, right? They're accounting ERP focused. They are looking back historically at what has happened and not looking prospectively at what could happen in your organization. And they're also not business centric, where they may just have one single purpose. And it may seem like a broad purpose, managing inventory, handling financials, dealing with customers, etc. Modern ERP systems were built from the ground up to support a holistic view of the enterprise so that you can support ERP, which is enterprise resource planning, CRM, customer relationship management, HCM, human capital management, and even built-in e-commerce solutions, including customer and vendor portals so that you can improve your supply chain. And all this is enabled by these solutions being essentially web-based, right? And as opposed to having a footprint on the workstation, which gets us to technology dependent. In legacy applications, doesn't matter which one you're working with, you have to have a certain operating system, right? They're dependent upon the platform or infrastructure that you're working in, and you have to make sure that those two things stay in sync. Whereas modern ERP is going to be mobile, it's going to be browser and operating system agnostic, and you're going to be able to essentially have your data anywhere, anytime, any device. And then finally, from a pricing perspective, some key differences here. You'll oftentimes, even in legacy ERP, now see that they've moved to subscription cost, but that subscription doesn't usually include a managed service around the application. So you're not getting things like data replication. You're not getting things like all of the built-in security. You're not getting any hosting or an environment essentially to deliver that solution within the original subscription cost. You may have to purchase those things separately, or you have to host your own environment and deal with the infrastructure cost. Whereas modern ERP, you're probably going to have a subscription-based solution coupled with or included in the managed service, which means they're going to take care of everything with respect to that application for you, and all you really need to focus on is strategically running your business. What that can do, though, is it can make these systems look like they're not very comparably priced, because licensing as a percentage of the total cost of ownership seems to be much higher in modern ERP, because you're incorporating the managed service of essentially running all of the infrastructure, maintaining the application, pushing all of the updates to you as a component of the subscription price. Whereas in a legacy application, you're simply paying for access or rights to use the software, and you're still responsible for all of those other costs, which are not as easily quantifiable as a subscription license will. So I think it will, if you haven't investigated a subscription-based license or modern ERP applications, it may be a little surprising to you what the pricing differences look like, but you do have to think holistically about the solution as you're evaluating cost. And then in terms of some of the main industry providers that are providing guidance around this, the assumption is, or the findings are, that it's about 5 times more expensive to maintain a legacy ERP application per license. And that's primarily because someone else is taking care of this for you and delivering it on a 99% uptime. About 66% of people on legacy ERP applications are version locked. This is less common in Sage 100 because there's less customization done in that environment. Some of you may have customizations done, but it's very common in things like Sage 500 or some of the Dynamics product lines where that's a SQL-based application and a lot more customization has been done by those users. And oftentimes they cannot get off of that platform as a result. And it drains innovation, and it also results in a very fragmented environment because they're focused strictly on ERP, you have to have other solutions surrounding it just to run the business successfully. Some of the benefits of modern ERP would be permitting growth without additional investment, right? The ability to scale up quickly as you need to add users, as you need to add server capacity. You don't have to do that with hard costs, right? These things are just kind of built in and automatically scaling for you based upon the publisher. And you can focus on your core competencies instead of managing your IT investment. So you can focus on growing your business. Redirect your people to things that are going to result in growth or efficiency as opposed to just maintenance. Versionless is a huge benefit of these applications because you never worry if you are on the current application. You're on a release schedule and the releases are pushed out to you and you are able to take advantage of those. It's also what's considered a unified database. So rather than having a separate sales system like a CRM that sits off to the side and manages your sales transactions and then pushing those into ERP and perhaps having 2 different versions of the truth where ERP says one thing and your sales application says another, you get a unified experience and unified database where all users are in one platform, and that also improves visibility so that people can have an understanding of what's happening from an accounting perspective when they're in sales and vice versa. These are also platform-based. So instead of delivering you a set of functionality out of the box, the solution is designed to deliver you an environment that the application was developed in so that you can, with codeless customization, personalize the solution to your needs. So above and beyond some of the tools that you have today to add things like user-defined fields, this is really a foundational platform for growth. It's also mobile, but just by virtue of being web-based, any device where you can receive an internet connection, you'll be able to get access to these applications, and they will be automatically resized based upon their HTML5 native design to resize to fit any device that you're on. So the flexibility, and this is a challenge we came up with, we uncovered when we were experiencing the COVID pandemic. There were a lot of folks that wanted to work from home, and that's a little bit challenging when you're dealing with an on-premise application. Much easier to do this when you are utilizing a web-based environment. And then insightful reporting. So much easier to get data out of a modern ERP application. The tools that they're providing are easier for users to embrace than something like a Crystal Reports, and provide you more actionable intelligence without a lot of design. Many of these systems, by the way, have been architected and built out to support specific industries. So a lot of the reports, KPIs, dashboards, and roles are tailored specifically to your industry, and you could purchase it in a model that is designed for your industry, and therefore you don't have to build out a tremendous amount of detail reports and safe searches and KPIs in order to get meaningful information very quickly from the solution. So let's talk a little bit about scalability. An example of that is you can have 1 to 1,000 users on the same system without the need to upgrade any infrastructure. No additional hardware required. You can scale down as needed as well. They're typically modular. allowing you to scale out in functionality and add additional features as you need to evolve your business. And the platform approach allows for rapid development of company-specific solutions. So you have the ability to get personalized to meet your individual users' needs. This is kind of a graphic of what a unified platform might look like. And if you're thinking about ERP, as it used to look, you might have finance, some manufacturing, supply chain, procurement, some vendor management. What these modern ERP applications add to the equation is building into that same platform a full HCM and payroll solution, a full e-commerce platform for B2B and B2C integrated sales, as well as the ability to extend the functionality in supplier and customer portals for self-service activities and to improve the resiliency of your supply chain. And then also enablement for your sales team to be able to support things like Salesforce automation, customer service, and marketing, all in one unified platform. Modern ERP also reduces risk by improving data security, system reliability, and uptime. The general guarantee on this uptime is like 99.98% uptime, and that takes into account the biannual upgrades that they're going to deliver you. There's typically automated disaster recovery and redundancy. So your data is replicated in 2 different environments simultaneously so that you can fail over to the second environment if anything drastic should happen in one of your geographies. They're going to be responsible for any compliance with regulations. So there's some privacy regulations in some of our states. There's GDPR if you're operating internationally. There's PCI if you're accepting credit cards. There's a number of different regulations that these applications need to comply with, and the service provider is responsible for all that. They're going through the necessary audits to ensure that their product is compatible. So, and then you can focus your human capital resources on your core competency and your strategic goals. So you get to kind of forget about the maintenance of your systems. Another example is mobility. This is just a particular example of what maybe an iPhone might look like with a modern ERP application loaded on it via an app on the iPhone or on the Android. So think about it as real-time access to your data anywhere, anytime, any device, enabling visibility to your business intelligence and your transactional data. It actually transcends geographies, languages, and legislation, so you're able to grow beyond our borders. It's not dependent on any hardware specifications, so it doesn't matter what platform you want to use. Your employees can bring their own device, and we do see that quite frequently now, particularly in the sales arena. And your performance is only dependent on the speed of your internet connection, because there's no footprint, there's no server in place, there's no footprint for the workstation on the server. It is all about the speed of your internet connection and the reliability of such. You know, in terms of some of the new technologies that are coming down the pipe, there are some things that modern ERP applications are starting now to build into their platforms that it's going to be very difficult for legacy ERP platforms to do, or the investment will not be made at those levels for products that are at that stage in their life cycle. Some examples might be artificial intelligence and machine learning, robotic process automation, which is also called RPA. We're going to talk a little bit about these technologies and how they might be applied to a ERP environment. So AI, or predictive analytics, is already in use today, and a good example is a CRM application like Salesforce. They have a tool in there called Einstein, and they use it to score opportunities, and it essentially looks at how all of your opportunities are progressing in the environment, and it makes predictions about whether or not your opportunity will be closing at the time your sales rep indicates it's going to be closing. And so these kinds of things exist today. The machine is learning, the application is learning from your historical experience, and it's applying that logic to existing opportunities to help us better understand what could happen in the future. So these applications are becoming more forward-looking, and that's going to add more value to applications. Another good example would be improving accrual provisions by understanding prior period actuals and making recommendations. Perhaps anticipating supply chain issues. We have this today in many of our modern ERP applications where it can look at historical performance of particular vendors or payment trends from customers, and it can start to recommend cash flow forecasts as a result of those things because it better understands how these elements work together with your existing balances. It also might help you understand dynamic discounting opportunities or start to predict a little bit better when your suppliers might be able to deliver product to you and help to eliminate those stock outs or those resource constraints that are maybe impacting your manufacturing environment. So there's a lot of opportunities for artificial intelligence to be combined with ERP applications and really help you get smarter and make better business decisions. In terms of robotic process automation, this is all about automating things that you do every day. And a good example is bank rec. So everybody's used a bot before, because if you've been online and you've had a little chat pop up, that is essentially a bot acting like a person and taking you through some help questions and then trying to direct you to the appropriate resources. So that's an example of a robotic process automation. It's essentially a computer simulating a person. One example in ERP might be automated bank reconciliations. So the ability to act like a person, essentially log into your banking environment, bring down all of the transactional data on a daily basis, learn from your historical matching process, and essentially auto match those for you and complete the reconciliation. So all of these kinds of tools are available today, again, with modern ERP, and these applications will continue to expand within the ERP space. And another one I just wanted to mention here is blockchain. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the blockchain. There are some examples of businesses now starting to require blockchain integration. This is, again, something that legacy ERP applications likely will not invest in and support going forward, but modern ERP applications are going to have to. For example, all purchase transactions that involve a Coca-Cola bottler, they have to be transacted on the blockchain. And essentially, blockchain is a validated bidirectional transaction recording system. So it's like a handshake where the buyer says, I'm buying this, the seller says, I sold them this, and it essentially creates a record in the blockchain that is validated by both parties. It's a very auditable environment. I mean, ultimately, you could envision some scenario where perhaps even sales tax reports don't even need to be filed because taxing authorities can read the blockchain and they understand exactly what sales transactions occurred. These are all possibilities that can happen utilizing this technology. It has the ability to be transformational to the finance industry and just to business in general. So Coca-Cola is a good example. Walmart's another good example. They're actually requiring all leafy green vegetable suppliers to upload transactions to their blockchain. And that's because they're not as much interested in the financial nature of the transaction, but they want the traceability to farm and field of those vegetables. And the blockchain enables that as well. And if you think about cryptocurrency, there was an announcement, I think last week or a week before, that the US is considering the creation of a digital currency to be a leader in this market. Eventually, cryptocurrency will need to be incorporated into ERP applications, and that's going to require integration of the blockchain because cryptocurrency payments are all recorded in blockchain. So just the things to be thinking about, that as your business evolves, you're going to start to need these features or want these features. And in order to have them, you're likely going to have to be in a modern ERP application. So if you are ready to start looking, what should you think about in that process? And I like to think about this in terms of what I call the 5 Ps. Coincidentally, there I'll start with P, but it's important to consider things other than just product fit. A lot of people focus on, does it have the feature function fit that is necessary for my business? And that is certainly important. But there are other criteria that are important as well. And I would label them as the publisher. It's important to know who you're doing business with and how much they're investing in the solution. The platform, is it something that you can grow with? Is it something flexible enough for you to personalize? Or is it something modern enough that is built on current technology? Product would be functional fit. Always important, but less critical today than it was 10 years ago because of the flexibility of these applications. Price is always important. I would argue it's the least important because price is always somewhat negotiable, and it's always going to be competitive at the end of the day with comparable products. So you're not going to have anything that is wildly distorted as long as you're looking at all products in the tier 2, for example. And then I think one of the most important things is to think about the partner you're working with, to make sure that you're aligned culturally with that partner, because this is someone that's going to help you not only implement the application, but also carry you through the life cycle of your business and help you grow with the product going forward. So that's what I like to think about. And what I would ask if I were thinking about the publisher is how long have they been in business? What is the investment that they're making in this solution? And you can tell that. There's a couple of things that you can do to tell that. We'll cover in a minute here. Are they a reputable organization, and are they prepared to support it for the long term? And do they have a history of actively developing their software packages and making investments in technology? Many of these software publishers are frankly just buying solutions to hold them and to milk the customer base for maintenance, and then to get them migrated onto one of the platforms that they have already purchased. So they're not really buying it to invest in the solution. So I'd be wary of anything that is a private equity company that perhaps owns the software, because their intent is either to convert or to resell the entire business. The platform, you want to know if it's built on something that's secure, reliable, flexible, and current, so that it can support your business growth. So does it have open APIs? And that stands for application program interfaces that allow for integration with any other applications. Are there pre-built applications to other best-of-breed software applications? So if you are dealing with a mature application, you will have a series of, let's just say, app store solutions that you can download. If you just think about your phone, and on the iPhone, there's a number of apps built for it. You want a solution that is that mature, that it has a number of extensions built by reputable independent software vendors that you can then essentially install into your environment and configure to meet your needs. And then how extensible is it? How flexible is it? Can I enhance the native functionality to meet my business needs? What can I do to personalize this and turn it into a competitive advantage? And then how do I automate my business processes with it? Do I need external tools, or does it have something built in that will help me to grow without adding people? And then does it have uptime guarantees? How reliable is it? And you can generally get that information from the marketplace. I do tell people you want at least an 80% fit functionally. You're not probably ever going to get 100% fit functionally, but at least an 80% fit. And then the ability to extend the functionality. But does it meet your core functional needs? Does it have clients in your industry, right? Are there any referenceable peers using it? Does it utilize best practices from a business process standpoint? Is it focused on my industry? Does it have any industry specific functionality that's going to support me? And does it have critical mass in the marketplace? And then for price, you might want to understand how the pricing is structured. Is it by module or by user, for example? Are there any hidden fees associated with that? And are there tangible ways to calculate your ROI? And then finally, for partner, you'd like to understand how mature is this partner with this product? Do they have experience implementing it? How many existing customers do they have? Are they experienced in your industry? Do they have familiarity with the terminology and the specific use cases that you're experiencing? Do they have references from satisfied customers, preferably in your industry? Do they utilize a proven methodology that will set you up for success? And then what level of resources do they have? Do they have 5 consultants, or do they have 50? So those are some things to think about. I just want to check my time here for a second. So we have about 25 minutes left. What I'd like to do is just take you through some of the questions that you might ask through each of those 5 Ps, and then we'll move into a demonstration of the product. So some things to look for to know if the publisher is right for your business. Look for the number of employees that publisher has. And this example I'm giving you is NetSuite. There are other modern ERP applications in the marketplace, but these are some comparable numbers that you might see from an established software vendor. So you want to know how many organizations locally and globally are using the solution. That's about critical mass. And really that's about how much can this publisher invest in the product. If they only have 100 users, they don't have sufficient revenue, right, to redevote to development of the product. And that's going to speak to product longevity. How many developers do they have working on the platform? And so those are all things that might be relevant. In terms of platform, you might be looking for security. You might be looking for integration capability. You might be looking for workflow capabilities, the ability to have access to an app store. You're going to be looking for mobile capabilities and some flexible reporting tools. And all of that built together can incorporate the platform. You're also going to want to understand what their uptime guarantees are. So this is an example of the NetSuite environment that has about 99.98% average uptime on, what is that, 371 billion requests. And it also gives you the ability to view each data center and whether there are any issues, and then all of the security and performance audits that are available for the platform as a service provider. And in addition, does it have, like I said, an extensible suite of applications that you can download from reputable third-party vendors? So an example is just being able to go to the App Store for that particular application and download something. From a product perspective, what is the depth and breadth of the solution? What is the module footprint that you have available to you within the environment? So be sure to explore that a little bit so you understand how you can grow with the solution over time. And then in terms of industry focus, make sure that they have referenceable customers in your industry, right? And they're able to address the specific needs of companies like you. And then as you're thinking about a partner, what's realistic to look for? 50 to 100 professionals focused on the solution is going to give you a very firm bench that you can reach to as you need to grow with the solution. You want to understand that they're certified. You want to know that they're recognized by the publisher as a leading partner in the industry. And you want to know how many successful implementations they've had, and you do want to speak to some of their references. In addition, they should be able to speak to you about their methodology. How do they go about ensuring the success of your project? And also making sure that it is on track from a budgetary perspective. So what kind of project management do they offer, or change management capabilities to support your business through the exercise? Now I'd like to stop now here on the PowerPoint, drop out and maybe give you a little bit of a taste of a modern ERP application. This one happens to be NetSuite because I have access to that environment. There are others out there that are comparable solutions, but this will give you a flavor for what a modern ERP application looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and end the slideshow now and slip back over to my NetSuite application. And so what you'll typically see when you come into a modern ERP application is you'll be presented with a dashboard with a series of gadgets on it. Navigation is going to be a little bit different for every ERP that you work with, but they're all going to have what's called real-time business intelligence. And so that is presenting to you every time you log into the system, accurate, instantaneous, up-to-date information that's relevant to you about how to manage your business. So you don't have to go to a separate application like Sage Intelligence and export the data and run your dashboards. They're going to essentially be here for you. And you're going to have an unlimited amount of real estate, right, to add additional gadgets to your dashboard. We're going to do a little bit of that today. You may even have secondary dashboards. I'm just going to slip over to my other menu, Sales and Marketing Overview. And here I might have a whole nother set of real estate that lets me have additional key performance indicators, metrics, charts and graphs, trends, KPI indicators, etc., that are relevant to that specific topic. So because it's a web-based application, navigation is going to be very simple. You can always use the back button, right, to navigate back and forth. You can refresh the screen simply by hitting the refresh button, and it'll refresh all the gadgets on your screen. And And it's always going to have the ability to help you automate your business processes. And one example of that, just from an ease of use perspective, is this reminders area. So you're going to have notifications and alerts, and that could be built into the application in a number of different ways. It could be in the form of a dashboard gadget. It could be in the form of a workflow. It could be a pop-up. It could be an email that you receive. There's a number of different ways that the system can alert, notify you, and even take action on your behalf to perform specific tasks. So I'm just going to drill down on a few of these just to show some navigation and some reporting tools that are built into modern ERP solutions. So let's start with items on back order. I just did a right click and I'm opening it in a new tab. So I can essentially have an unlimited number of tabs open. And this one is giving me a list view of all of the items that I have across all of my sales orders that are currently on back order. One nice thing about these applications, they're going to give you really, really easy ways to query your data. And this is really just a query. Think of it like a business insights list that's built into the solution on every screen, and that you can then filter, customize, and apply to every screen in the application. So I would just have to hit this edit this search option, and I'd have the ability to change these columns to create my own filter criteria. So I can filter it by date, by location, by sales order, by customer, by item, however I want to do that. And I'll be able to export these things to Excel. So getting data out of the application is quite simple. Down on a few of these. We'll get this one to open up. And it's going to bring it out in a familiar row and column format. Right, so they do a nice job of making sure this is very easy to get data out into your familiar Microsoft Office solutions. Close a few of my windows here so I don't have those popping up again. And then, of course, if I want to go back to my home dashboard, since I opened this in a new tab, I can simply click over here and I'm back on my dashboard again. A couple other good examples here might be my late sales order view. This one is interesting because you have the ability to drill down further. So if I want to understand more about this sales order, I have this edit and view button, and that's going to take me down to the sales order transaction itself so I can understand more about why this $60,000 sales order is currently late. You'll also see all of the conditional highlighting that is located in this view just to make sure that I am understanding the relevant data that is important for me to see. And you'll notice that I was able to go from the dashboard to a query or a list of items and then all the way down to the transaction. So you can make any of these queries drillable. Back button takes me directly back to the solution. In addition to this, you'll notice that I have something called inline editing turned on. So in many cases, you'll be able to turn these into a spreadsheet just by turning inline editing on. And I don't even have to drill down to the transaction to add notes or to change any fields that have a pencil associated with them. And that's just going to write down to that sales order record for me. I'll go ahead and close that one. And coming back, you could also automate your approval processes. And this is an example of kind of a combination of workflow as well as just built-in approval processes. So I am the senior executive here. I don't actually have approval authority to execute these, but I can drill down and see which transactions need to be approved. And if I have rights, I can drill down to the underlying AP bill and look at the specific detail items that were being purchased on that bill. You'll notice it says pending approval at the top, but I don't have authority to take action. If I were the authorized approver associated with that bill, or somewhere in the approval hierarchy, it would allow me to come in and actually approve those bills. Close down on that screen. And then if we want to, we can simply add items to this reminders gadget. You're not really required to utilize the reminders that come out of the box, you can create your own. And you can add anything that you want to a reminders gadget. It's really just a saved search with a date filter. And so I'm going to scroll down here to, let's see, invoices greater than 30 days, greater than $50,000. So I've just done a query of the system that says, show me all invoices that are over 30 days old and over 50K. By saying, okay, it recasts just that gadget. It adds this element to it. And now I have more information I can drill down to. So your users, as long as they can see the underlying data, can customize and personalize their own dashboard very easily. Same drill down capability, same inline editing, ability to edit the search, added in any filters that are necessary. But really the goal is to put the power in the hands of the user with these new modern ERP applications. Now, another type of gadget you might see here is called key performance indicators. So if there's anything that you measure and manage within your business that helps you understand the health of your company, you can turn that into a key performance indicator as long as the underlying data is stored in NetSuite. So these things can be financial or they can be operational. Maybe you want to know how many orders were taken today, this week, this month, this year. And then you want to see trending over that. That's a key performance indicator. Maybe you want to know how many lines were shipped. Maybe you want to know how many pounds were billed. All of those things, they can be financial, they can be statistical, they can be operational, can be turned into a key performance indicator. So again, nothing hard-coded, but they're going to deliver a lot of these out of the box. And there's the ability to, of course, hit the setup button and add additional KPIs. I'm going to drill down on a few of these. I'm going to start with the payables. Anything in blue, we can drill down to the underlying report that created it. A simple aging report with the same capability to export that you saw from a saved search. A report is really designed to be more presentation quality. So yes here. And what I do like about this is, unlike Crystal Reports or some of the other reporting tools you may have access today, they do a great job of using white space and aligning the report so it's easy to use immediately out of the gate. Also, anything that's a formula comes out as a formula. And that will work through any report in a modern ERP application. You're going to have much more flexibility with exporting reports. Of course, there's drill down capability. Let's just go down and see. Oh, that's a terrible example because it doesn't have a vendor. I'll go back, pick a different one. Let's just go to this guy. It's an expense report. I want to find one that's an AP bill. And here we're going to condense. There we go. Go to ACOM. It's going to take me down to a detail report. So behind every summary report, you likely have a detail report. This one is showing me, looks like journals. I want to find one that has an AP bill. Let's see what Customer Products does. There we go. That's a little bit better. So now these I can tell are coming from AP invoices. I'm going to drill down to that. And one of the tools I do like in these modern ERP applications is the drill down, drill around capability. I could also always hover over the Actions tab, and I can see the GL impact of any transaction. So it's going to show me the debits and the credits, as well as whether this is in posted status or not. If it's unapproved, it would be unposted. And then it does track it all down to dimensional reporting criteria. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how it differs from legacy ERP when we get into the financial reporting section. So I'm just going to hit my back button. Continues to take me back to my primary reports. And the other thing I like about reports is this ability to schedule them. So if I wanted to email this to someone, and I can do this with a saved search as well, you could email directly out of these applications. Send it to myself. I could put a message on it. I can specify the format I want it to come in. Do I want it to be attached as an Excel? I'll just put mine in inline HTML for now. And if I have any attached files that I want to include from my built-in filing cabinet and electronic record system, I can do so, or I can just hit send and it'll send that report for me. That's a one-off process that I had to manually execute. If I have a report that I want to schedule to run, I can just click on my schedule icon in the bottom right-hand corner, say run report more than once, select the day I want to send it, And then I have the same ability to create my recipients, define a message, create the format type, and include attachments. And it will send that all automatically. I'm not going to do that right now because I'll start receiving them. Let's see if I did get my email. Here we go. I'll just double click. And this is what an inline HTML report would look like. So it pasted it right into the body of the message and sent it to my designated user. Okay, one more example that I want to do from a reporting standpoint, just to illustrate how easy it is to customize reports in the application. I'm going to drill on sales. This is going to take me to an operational report where I'm able to start to see my sales, in this case by customer. I'm going to spread this out by month. I want to see multiple accounting periods. I'm going to use my date selector and I'm going to increase this to this year. And let's refresh. And now I get my columns stratified by date. Now this might be interesting to me to understand this by sales rep. And their sales rep field is not on this screen. It's actually quite easy to personalize reports here. It's not like you're using Crystal Reports. They've already pre-joined all the tables for you. So my customer table is pre-joined to my sales table. And all I really need to do is add a field and create some grouping. So I'm just going to type in sales rep and do a search. And it's going to come up with all the places in the data in any of those related tables where sales rep is listed. I'm just going to grab one of those. I'm going to move it to the left and I'm going to say, I want to group this with the previous column. And then I would rename it. And I would say sales by sales rep. Summary. I'm still getting my customer detail, but I've created my own custom report off of an existing report. And it's just not difficult to be able to design your own reports in the application. So I can see all of the customers associated with BERT. I can still do the same thing here and stratify this by month if I want to. And I'm able to view my data in a number of different ways with, again, full drill down capability. So it's not difficult to learn how to write your own queries and write your own reports. And I think that adds to the power of the system, and you don't really need an IT resource or some power user to help you do that. Okay, back to the dashboard really quickly, because I know we're running out of time. A couple more things that I want to illustrate that are just reporting related. First of all, it's actually very easy to add something to your dashboard. So I'm just going to hit personalize, and I'm going to grab I want to grab a report snapshot. That's what I want. Here we go. I'm just going to place it right on my dashboard. So I drag and drop, and then I get to decide what report do I want to display graphically. So this one's doing comparative sales, but if I hover over the setup screen, I might rather see my customers by profitability. And I might like to see it, let's just say this year, and say save. And it's just going to take one of those sales reports that I have saved back as a snapshot and present it to me graphically on my dashboard. And you can do that with virtually any report. So now if I wanted to understand the detail behind this, I can hover over the right-hand corner, I can drill down to the report, or if I really just want to know what's going on with Abbott, I can double click that bar and it's going to show me all the transactions associated with Abbott. So very, very easy to navigate the application. You don't have to continually go back to the menu and run a report and select all your criteria. You can just double click it directly from the dashboard. Okay, let's talk a bit about dimensionality, and then I'll talk about the subsidiary navigator and take you quickly into an analytics portlet. So from a financial reporting perspective, modern ERP is very different than legacy ERP. We're all familiar with segmented charts of accounts, and that does somewhat constrict your ability to expand your chart of accounts or to do flexible reporting in the solution. I bet some of you used FRX. Historically, NetSuite kind of has its own built-in FRX, as does any dimensional reporting structure. So what dimensional means is they have taken what you would interpret as a segment and they have separated it into a separate field that is reportable both operationally and financially. In NetSuite, they call them department, class, and location, as well as any number of custom dimensions that you want to create. And then that allows me to mix and match dimensions together like we used to be able to do in FRX without being constrained by the segmented structure of a chart of accounts. So again, I'm going to pull up my column stratifier here, and I'm going to filter this by class. I'm going to extend this to the fiscal year so that I get more data, and hit refresh. And now I have organized my products into what you might call product lines. I'm calling classes. And that class is extending to my accounting or financial reporting, as well as being available in any of my operational reports. So I can now stratify my financial statements by any criteria, including product line, profit center, department, location, and any other criteria that you want to define and inherit into the transaction. It's completely independent of the natural account number. And this is called dimensionality, and it is a feature of any modern ERP application. And the beauty of this is, let's say I wanted to see this by column, but I want to filter it by location. I can hit the more button at the bottom, and now I can do things like FRX could do. And I can mix and match the various dimensions together. So I might want to just see, I don't want to control like that. I just wanted to see Denver and San Francisco. Let's see. Click happy here. All right, we'll just select them all there. And it's going to say multiple. I'll say refresh. And this should give me the same report, but filter down just for those two locations. I could also look at it by location and then stratified or filtered just by particular product lines. Or even better, I'm going to go ahead and say all here, go back to a full report. A lot of folks ask me for customer specific financial statements because they might want to code some sales expenses to a customer. They might also want to see the cost of goods and the revenue and the gross profit associated to a customer. Because a customer is a dimension of every of posting transactions, you can now see financial statements by customer or by item or by project or by class, department, location, or any other custom segment. So a lot of flexibility that we used to have to get out of something like FRX to mix and match is built out of the box into NetSuite. Another concept I just want to orient you to is the concept of having multiple companies in the same environment. So what NetSuite does, instead of treating these companies as separate databases, NetSuite creates an organizational hierarchy that allows me to see across all my companies in a model of single-click consolidation. And a dimension of every transaction is the subsidiary record. So this is an example of the subsidiary navigator. In my case, I've got a headquarters, which is my rolled up parent company, and I have a number of different organizations in different geographies. Doesn't have to be in different legislations. You can actually have multiple companies in the United States. But let's just remove this gadget for a minute to get back to my my KPIs. Let's say I just wanted to see what's going on in the UK. I can hit this button and it's going to filter the entire database just for that legal entity. It recasts the dashboard in the appropriate currency of that company, and it reflects all of the financial information on that dashboard just for the UK. I want to just see the US, single click consolidation as well. Now I'm going to see US dollars, and it's going to recast all of the data for me. If I want to see that in consolidation, where all the data is translated to the correct reporting currency and rolled up, you can see it all together. So if you have rights to see across multiple companies, you're going to be able to do that without having to change companies, right? Like we have to do today in legacy ERP. Okay. I am at time. I only have 2 more screens to show, and then we'll open it up for questions. So we'll try to do this really quickly. I'm going to add an analytics portlet to my dashboard, and this is really built-in pivot tables and charts. So you no longer have to drop your data out to Excel to be able to support pivot table reporting. So I'm going to go ahead and say, set up this analytics portlet, and any workbooks that have been created in my environment are going to be available to me. I'm going to choose work orders by location. And that's just going to bring me a pivot table to the screen of my work orders organized by location. This happens to be a manufacturing company. And then I could drill down on this and it would give me the same capability to modify this that I would have in Excel in terms of being able to create charts and graphs. Like here's the pivot table. If I want to see this in chart form, I can display it in a chart. And then I can create my own workbooks. Here's my data set, and I simply drag and drop them like you would do if you were creating a pivot table in Excel. So these are the kinds of tools you'll see built into modern ERP. And to take it one step further, there are also analytics warehouse solutions that if you have external data in other applications that you want to combine with NetSuite information and see reported in dashboards and reports, these are native tools. This is called NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, but you could do this in Power BI. You could do it in Tableau. I'm just going to slip over to a sales overview and I'll drill down on my sales by customer as an example. And you can start to visualize your data using even more advanced tools than you have in the native NetSuite dashboard. And this has what they call Stratifiers that lets you filter this data for maybe just a specific sales representative or just a specific period. Say if I want to look at Q1, I'll just double click this. And it's going to drill it down further now to each month that was in Q1. If I want to filter it for a specific sales rep, let's just grab Bert. I can select Bert, and again, the entire business intelligence dashboard recast. So these are all the kinds of tools that you get out of modern ERP, and they're just helping you to interpret, understand, and make good business decisions based upon all the information that you are storing in the application. So that is the conclusion of the presentation portion of this webinar. I would like to see if there are any questions from the audience. Pam, have you come up with any questions?
There was just one really asking if we were going to share the slide deck, and I indicated yes, we're going to send them the recording and the slide deck. Amy, could you pop up maybe the last page of our presentation with our contact information?
Certainly, I will do so.
Thank you. So if anybody has questions or you're interested in exploring more what modern ERP can do for your business, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you through that process. I have worked with many different companies, and we'll just figure out, you know, what you're thinking, what your plans are, what makes sense, and we can take you through an evaluation process. If you're not ready for that and you just have some basic questions, you can still reach out to me and ask those questions. Consider me a resource. I am available via the email that's listed here. And Amy's, of course, available, but she's a lot harder to get a hold of than I am. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to type in the chat at this time? We'll give them just a second here, and if not, thank you very much for attending. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.